Alan Cumming has portrayed many characters over his decades-long career. His roles include a James Bond villain in GoldenEye, a techno wizard in Spy Kids, a mutant in X-Men 2, and a political operative in The Good Wife.
Now he is taking on a new role in the CBS drama Instinct, playing Dr. Dylan Reinhart, a former CIA operative and college professor who ends up helping the New York police after a killer starts planning crimes based on his book. Take a look.
I have a feeling there'll be more murders, which is why I'm here. Before Dino died, the killer sent your book to the homicide division. As the famous expert on criminal psychopathology, I was hoping you might have some ideas. Don't they call you Professor Psychopath?
While I may have a fascination with psychopaths, it does not mean I am one.
And judging by the way you eat your pizza, I'm not so sure.
Using a fork and knife slows the process down and allows you to focus more on the pizza itself.
I'm no problem focusing on pizza.
You should try it sometime.
Sure, right after I catch whoever killed this kid. Inside of your book, there was also a bookmark.
Ah, the master of high knowledge card. In cartomancy, the king of clubs is said to be one who has great power, but one who is not aware of this.
Your best-selling criminal theory book is about playing cards. This killer is using them.
My book is not about playing cards. Gambling was the central motif. The compulsion for risk versus the need for control. Two competing ideas which serial killers and psychopaths share with us all.
We are so happy to welcome Alan Cumming to the desk. He is one of the executive producers of the show. Good to see you.
You too. Thank you very much.
Hey.
So, look, I've been a huge fan, of your work. Going back to Boris, I'm invincible. You've played so many dynamic roles in your life, and I saw you on Broadway in Cabaret. It was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
What made you decide to come back to TV, though?
It was really this character. I mean, I wasn't sort of looking. I just I got presented with the book, the James Patterson book, that it's based on, an early draft of that, and I just was like, I know what a page turner means now.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'd never been asked to play someone who has got so many different facets, seemingly so disparate as well, all these different characteristics. Like he's a fuddy-duddy professor, but he was a former sort of CIA spy. He drives a motorbike, but he's kind of a dandy. He used to be as a child musical prodigy. He's gay. It's the first ever network drama in American TV to have a gay character as the lead.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Was that part of the reason that you were drawn to it?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I feel that it was another interesting part of the character, but just in terms of a sort of, historical thing of playing that first ever gay lead character in the American network is kind of amazing. And also to have show America, and a lot of people who are watching this, I'm sure, hopefully, will not have seen a same-sex relationship portrayed in this way.
Right.
And I think any sort of, people are afraid of things that they're not familiar with, and so it's really important to show them and let them get used to things. And I think it's about time that America got used to it.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so did you, and these discussions are always difficult when you're talking to executives at any network, let alone ours. Did you have, just tell us a little bit of the backstory that went in when you said, look, I really want to do this, and I want this to be, I don't want this to go away. Sometimes when people say, well, we're not going to do what's explicitly in the book, we'll try to change it up.
Well, no, they were actually, the CBS have been nothing but supportive actually of that aspect of the show in general, but especially that aspect. And James Patterson, who again is someone that perhaps you wouldn't think would write a character like this, that was a central tenet to the book, and so that's always been the case. And I feel that CBS has been accused of being not diverse enough, so they're certainly going the other way with this one.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love this idea that it's a story about this sort of interesting crime, and there's all sorts of twists and turns, and the character happens to be gay.
Yes.
Being gay is not the central component of this story.
And that's so refreshing, because often I find it, if there is a gay character especially in a network show, it's usually the focus of their storyline, and usually in a negative way. There's some problem with they're sick or they're having issues, and it's actually really refreshing that it, as you say, it's and also. And then when you do see the part of the story, it's the relationship between me and my husband, it's a really, adult, supportive, normal.
Yeah.
It's as though they're normal.
Right, exactly.
My word.
One word. You also play this ex-CIA agent. Did you talk to CIA agents to prepare for the role, and what were they like?
I did. I spoke to a few of them, because it's the only part of all the different facets that I had no knowledge of. Like, I can imagine being a writer, because I am one, but I never. I don't know many spies, and so I spoke to these people
that you know of.
That I know. That's
Did you
true.
know?
Yeah,
I do know. I do.
That's
My
very true.
only connection to the CIA is I used to work for Anderson Cooper, and he interned at the CIA when he was in college. Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I must ask him about
Yeah, ask him about that. What was his internship like at the CIA?
So tell us about them.
Well,
Tell us about the spies you've loved.
The ones I only spoke to them on the telephone, of course, never met in person. But they were really fascinating. You know, the idea now of going into, like, you know, the Middle East, say, and being undercover, and that it's such a traumatic thing to do. Warfare is such a different thing now, and how I imagine spies like James Bond and John le Carré and everything. But actually, it was much more brutal than that, and so many of them have got massive amounts of PTSD. And you know, I spoke to a couple, and they were just telling me, like, the ramifications of working in that way. It's a really horrible kind of lifestyle. And also, this fascinating thing that this guy told me that about 30% of the CIA are Mormon.
Really?
I know.
Did you know that?
No, but now I have more questions. So why?
I don't know. I
That's
guess
really
it's like
fascinating.
you know, it becomes a sort of a cultural thing that some Mormons were doing, and then more Mormons came, and it becomes a thing. But also, when you think about
really
it, Mormons are kind of like, they're used to going on missions.
Yes.
They're a kind of not a closed-off community, but they're kind of they've got their own kind of community and sort of strictures.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes it you're more easily adaptable to what the CIA needs. I don't know. I just find it fascinating.
That is fascinating. You did some of your own stunts?
Well, kind of.
Okay, how do you define a stunt? Wait a minute.
You know, I did I drive a motorbike in the show, and I don't drive a motorbike. It's all fakery,
That's
but it's actually really clever. I mean, I get on and off a motorbike. But no, I did in the episode on Sunday. There's a bit when at the end, the serial killer who's doing all the terrible things. I obviously tackle him and solve the case, but I had to. So there's a stuntman who was like going to pull him over his shoulder and bash him. And they said to me, "Do you want to try it, Alan? Because you know it's it would be good if you could bits of it, snatches of your face that we could use. It always helped." And I was like, "Sure." So I did it, and I did the stunt, and everyone applauded. On this,
Just like
and I was like, "Wait, are you applauding because I'm old and you think I can't do that, or because you think I'm?"
They're all like, "Oh man, that was."
Or like you didn't think I was butch enough to do that. I mean, neither is good. So when people applaud when you've done a stunt, it's not. It makes you feel like, oh, you actually thought I was a wimp.
I love this conversation, and it actually goes to my question, which is that in almost every character you play, even if it's a serious character, there's always a twinkle in your eye, sort of a wry sense of humor that you bring to the role.
Yeah.
Are you doing that here too?
Oh yeah, it's very funny, this show. Actually, I mean, it's written. It's not just my twinkle. It's actually it's very, the dialogue, especially between me and Bojana Novakovic, who's the cop from the NYPD. We're very, wisecrackery, whatever you call it. Fire. What do you call those things? Wisecracker.
Wisecrackery.
Wisecrackery is a good word.
Wisecrackery. So there's a lot of humour there, and also in a way, the kind of tone of it is quite light, even though there's murders and things. But it sort of reminds me of like cop shows that I saw when I was a little boy growing up, American cop shows that I would get in Scotland, you know? They're kind of, there's a retro feel to it that I really enjoy. So there's a lot of humour, yeah.
Well, we can't wait.
Yeah.
Alan Cumming, thank you so much for coming by. We appreciate it.
And you can watch the series premiere of Instinct Sunday night at 7 Central on CBS.